Welcome, one and all, to this episode of Pacific414 Pop Talk. I'm your host, Mike, and tonight we are going to talk about Shang-Chi's second week box office. We're also going to be talking about the Knights of the Old Republic remake, and we're also going to be talking about the announcement made on Wednesday of this past week concerning Star Trek Picard, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and also an article I found. Before we get underway here, I do want to thank everyone who stopped by last Wednesday for the 55th anniversary of Star Trek Celebration. Really appreciate it. Once again, I want to thank my guests, the Norporeal Lifeform, Master Paul from the Star Wars Guy, TKO, Digital Department of Defense, the Smoking Patriot, Kilroy. I want to thank you all for joining in. I really appreciate it. And, I also want to thank my co host from last Sunday for Pop Talk when we discussed AEW All Out. Those co hosts. Now, I do want you all to know that usually I try to do the show on a Monday night. I know Monday is a hard night for everybody to tune in, but, I've got to fit it into a schedule somehow. And I figured Monday night's as good as any night. So let's go ahead and, you know, quit having me ramble here. And I will start off with the first subject matter, and that's Shang-Chi's box office. There we go. You should be getting sound now. Blame the operator. There's only one person to blame, and that's me. Okay. So let me start this article over again. I'm sorry, it happens. So this article, it starts off with, you can now add sustained box office might to Shang-Chi's already impressive array of superpowers. A week after the Marvel blockbuster's record-breaking Labor Day rollout, the film not only held on top of with the relative ease, thanks to its nearly 35.8 million sophomore weekend, it also roared past Black Widow to become the fastest film to reach the 100 million milestone in North America this year. The superhero tentpole also crossed the 250 million mark globally. Meanwhile, Warner Brothers' latest chill thriller, *Malignant*, proved to be terrifying, but in all the wrong ways, scaring up to an underwhelming 5.5 million in its domestic bow. And again, I do apologize about the sound, folks. Blame me. So it goes on to say the latest entry in the still thriving MCU, Shang-Chi, and the Legend of the Ten Rings hybrid model, where it simultaneously released its splashiest titles in theaters and on Disney Plus for $30. And trust me, I wasn't going to pay $30 just to watch a movie that I could easily go to the theater and pay a ticket to go see. Not that I'm going to see it anytime soon, not that I have any desire to go see Shang-Chi anytime soon, because I'm burnt out on Marvel. After Endgame, I realized, it was good enough for me. Yeah, I still gave WandaVision a chance. I still watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but between those two, I definitely knew. Okay, so all right, let me get back to where I was. All right, $30 surcharge may be becoming a thing of the past. Includes Marvel's Eternals and Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. And it also says it would follow the lead of Shang-Chi and open only in theaters before making their way to streaming platforms a month and a half later. Well, I mean, what's the point of going out to the theaters if it's going to be on a streaming service a month and a half later and watch it then? All right. So it goes on to say, breaking down Shang-Chi's sophomore week numbers, the film's North American haul of slightly less than 35.8 million translated to a negative 52.5%. Why not? Why not? I mean, you know, ScarJo did get screwed in Black Widow coming out on Disney Plus and theaters, because when she originally signed that contract, to my knowledge, it was only specified that it was going out in theaters. Of course, you could also throw out there that nobody knew that the pandemic would be in theaters across the country, would have been closed for the length of time that they were closed. But still, these actors or paid pretenders, sign a deal and they expect to get the money according to the terms of that contract. That's just my thought. Okay, so it translated to a negative 52.5% fall off from the prior session. Yes, pretty consistent with Marvel's pre-COVID second weekend declines. In fact, the PG-13 rated extravaganza starring Sumu Sumlau. I know I'm butchering that name. Simu Lao Lee, or all right, I'm gonna stop. Stop while I'm ahead, right? And Aquafina is holding on far better than its recent stablemate Black Widow, which nosedived negative 67.8%, 8,322 per screen, and average of 4,300 theaters. Shang-Chi's has now racked up 145.6 million domestically. Meanwhile, the film has added 112 million from overseas to date, which may sound low, but makes sense when you consider that it still hasn't been scheduled for release in China, one of the Marvel's biggest markets. Its worldwide 157.6 million. And speaking of China, I do have an article that I spotted that I did want to touch up on after we get through this. So let's see. Well below in second place was 20th Century Studios and Disney's Free Guy. Well, what does Disney care? They already made money on it. They're already making money on two movies. Now, whether you think that Shang-Chi's tickets have been sold legitimately or if Disney's cooking the books, that's up to you. I don't know either way. I'm not in that realm. But anyways, 20th Century Studios and Disney's Free Guy with 5.8 million. The irreverent PG-13 action comedy clipped a negative 34, not 3, 34.5% from the prior frame and managed a 1,594 per screen average in 3,650 locations. After 5 weeks, the movie finally managed to nose past the 100 million mark, ending up with 101.8 million in North America. To date, it has added an impressive 174.7 million from abroad, which brings the current worldwide box office total to 276.5 million, and seems to indicate that film stars Ryan Reynolds may be considered a legitimate international marquee draw? Well, of course, he was in Deadpool 2, and people know him from Deadpool. People have known him from other comedies. So, of course, his name's going to draw people to the box office. Now, it goes on to talk about Warner Brothers Malignant and how it pretty much failed, and that's pretty much it, considering this article and this movie. Now, let's go on to a follow up. And of course, if you all have anything you want to add, go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. Now, if you'd like to come on and you do follow me on Discord or you follow me on Twitch or, Twitter, specifically Discord and Twitter in this case, send me a message and love to have you on. So, let's go ahead and relate to Shang-Chi. I will just cue it up here and 1 second. And this is coming out at MSN. So, say what you will. It's coming from their Business Insider, and it's saying why Marvel's Shang-Chi may not be released in China and what it means for Hollywood's future. Well, if rumors are to be believed, China doesn't want any part of identity politics. They just don't want any part of the current environment here in the West. They don't want any part of the virtue signaling and all that. So it says why Marvel's Shang-Chi may not be released in China and what it means for Hollywood's future. This is, of course, on MSN, and it's goes on to say Disney's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings may not get a China stay. It could see where Hollywood movies will be approved in the country in the future. China is now the world's biggest theatrical market, driven largely by local films during the pandemic. Yeah, yeah, and that's what I've seen Godzilla in there. That they don't want the soy latte, to put it in any other term. They don't want the soy latte crowd in their movies. They want movies that involve, men being men, women being women. I know people aren't going to like me saying it that way, but that's the truth. That's what that particular market wants. That's what that particular audience wants. They don't want what the West is offering right now. They don't want what Hollywood is offering right now. They want absolutely none of that. It says Disney's Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings is a box office hit after opening with 94 million over the 4-day Labor Day weekend. But the movie, which is the first Marvel Cinematic Universe character, okay. Now I'm gonna make a point. Uh, I'm gonna make a big point. I realize they're saying, in a Marvel movie, but has anybody forgotten about Bruce Lee? Has anybody forgotten about Jackie Chan and how much money that those two gentlemen would make in their movies, and then their movies would produce a lot of money? Has anybody forgotten that? Apparently so. But the movie, which is the first Marvel Cinematic Universe entry headlined by an Asian character, still doesn't have a release date in the world's largest theatrical market, China, where foreign releases must be approved by the local government. Deadline reported on Friday that a date may be out of reach after 2017 comments made by Sumu Liu resurfaced this week on Chinese social media, in which Liu called China a third world country. Yeah, thank you, Godzilla. Thank you. Add to the list of, you know, Hollywood stars, stars from China who have come over here and had success at the box office, success in Hollywood, success in entertainment alone. I mean, Bruce Lee was in the Green Hornet TV show. He wasn't just in, his movies that you saw in the theater. He was also in Green Hornet. I might be dating myself, but I can remember watching Green Hornet in reruns. So, anyways, the movie has already faced controversy over the title comic book characters. History, when first introduced in 1973, a character now considered to have perpetuated racist Asian stereotypes. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige has addressed Shang-Chi's comic history, which has been rewritten multiple times over the years. That's no surprise. Marvel's still rewriting the origins for a lot of their characters. Captain Marvel's a freaking Nazi? Give me a break. I mean, not Captain Marvel, Captain America, but Captain Marvel's the bestest ever? Jeez, where have I heard that before? Yeah, it was. It was because of the market over there. They changed the name. They wanted people to watch it, and Bruce, he was the big name star. He was the big draw. Definitely Fu Manchu is not in the movie, is not Shang-Chi's father, and again, is not even a Marvel character and hasn't been for decades, Feige told Variety last month. But beyond any concerns about the movie itself, Shang-Chi's China release or lack thereof reflects the country's media crackdown and the changing nature of its relationship with Hollywood, which has relied on China box office to boost big budget temples. Well, yeah, of course they have. Disney did not return the request for comment for this. China's crackdown is hurting Disney. And Kokas, media studies professor at the University of Virginia and the author of the book Hollywood Made in China, told The Insider that Shang-Chi controversy is happening in parallel with widespread tightening of China media and its film market. Well, think about what happened just recently last week. It was announced that kids in China would only be limited to 3 hours. And that's what you get. They are a socialist communist dictatorship. That's what they're going to do. They're not going to give you freedoms. They're going to limit those freedoms. Okay, it said Mulan faced calls from outside China for a boycott because parts of the movie were filmed in Xinjiang, where officials have been implicated in human rights violations against Muslims. And instead of China ordered a media blackout of Mulan ahead of its release in the religion. It ended up flopping with just 40 million over its entire theatrical run. Well, again, Muslims were in camps. Some 80 years ago, there was a group of people who were in camps. And I don't care who it is, you don't put people in camps. Sorry to get political, but and someone might say you don't have to, but sometimes you do have to. Okay, it says China release date for Disney's next Marvel movie Eternals is also uncertain. The movie's director, Chloe Zhao, who was born in China, has faced backlash from Chinese nationalists over a 2013 interview in which she said there are lies everywhere in China. Chinese censors blocked mentions of her Oscar win on social media earlier this year after she won Best Director and her film Nomadland won Best Picture. Again, they are going to censor what information gets in, what information gets out. Because, again, they're politics. I would be surprised if Eternals got released in China. Coca said the controversy has gotten a lot of attention and has been a rallying call for Chinese. I'm probably not even saying that right. It could be a major loss for Disney as Marvel Films has performed well in China. Avengers Endgame is the country's biggest grossing foreign film with 614 million. Shang-Chi's global performance would benefit immensely from a release in China, both because of the clear cultural appeal and the fact that Marvel movies are usually top tier box office performers in the Middle Kingdom, said Sean Robbins, the box office pro chief analyst. Local movies are dominating China's box office. Since the release of Endgame, China has passed the US as the biggest in the world, due largely to how China's cinemas have rebounded during the coronavirus pandemic, while the US theatrical industry has still struggled. Goes on to say the rebound has been driven by Chinese films like Hi Mom and Detective Chinatown 3, which were released this year and quickly cracked the top 5 of China's biggest movies ever. Only two Hollywood releases are currently in the top 10 highest grossing movies at the China box office this year: F9 and Godzilla vs. Kong. Well, I haven't seen F9. Again, just like Marvel, I'm pretty much done with the Fast and Furious movies. I did, however, enjoyed Kong versus Godzilla, so seeing two kaiju go at it. I certainly did. Okay. It says more and more local productions are accounting for China's box office. There are Chinese blockbusters that Chinese filmmakers are making that people want to watch, and they feel less derivative than those made in Hollywood, Coca said. China has a 34 film quota on the number of foreign films released in the country per year on a revenue sharing basis. But Coca's predicted to be approved in China in the coming years. Those that are approved will face a much tighter regulatory environment, she said. Robbins is more bullish about the future of Hollywood and China's relationship, though. China has an excellent catalog of locally produced content to drive the theatrical business, but there's no doubt that Hollywood releases have also proven important to the market's overall box office year in and year out. Really, Godzilla in there? You had to go there. You had to talk about family. It's all about family. I can't try to see that. It's family. All right, a little bit of silliness. Got to throw that in there. But okay, what are your guys' thoughts on that? What are your guys' thoughts on Shang-Chi's second week box office? What are your thoughts on China deciding that they're probably not going to release the movie in theaters? What are your thoughts? Lines are open. And while you're all contemplating and typing your thoughts, I will go ahead and get the next story ready. Just give me a second. Uh, okay. Again, while you're all doing that, I will go ahead and start reading the sixth story concerning the remake of Knights of the Old Republic. Okay, Godzillionaire says, I think China is just trolling Hollywood at this point when they obviously pander, and China says, nah. Exactly, because that's all China and Hollywood have become. Hollywood panders, China caves in and says, okay, you can produce it. And speaking of pandering, that's all Hollywood ever does anymore. They want to put labels on things. They they want to say what this week. Do we have someone like this? I know Godzillionaire. I know it's breaking my heart too. But getting back to Hollywood, and this does relate. This does relate to the KOTOR remake. What you know boxes are we going to check this week? What boxes are we going to check for China? What boxes are we now going to check for Knights of the Old Republic, the remake? Oh, we don't need a remake of Knights of the Old Republic right now. We don't need it. The game that was released in 2002 is great as it is. All you have to do is give it a graphical update, and then you can release it out to the masses as a remastered version. You don't have to retell the story just to fit modern day. Because guess what? Stories that fit one decade or a 5 year period won't matter 2, 3, 4 years from now. And you're right about that, Godzillionaire. Hollywood is a failure of economics. uh Darth Reed, that's a good one. But that's the thing, because this and then the next article I'm gonna touch upon is gonna touch upon one of the writers of the KOTOR remake. All right, so this is coming out of Bounding into Comics. And it says, well, yeah, this first article I'm talking about, it says former The Mary Sue writer and social justice activist Sam Maggs working on just remaster the damn game. Come on, BioWare, you've already done it for mobile. Why didn't you do it for current PCs and the PS5? After all, those are the two platforms it's coming out on anyway. It says former The Mary Sue writer and social justice activist Sam Maggs announced that she is and has been working on the newly announced Star Wars The Knights of the Old Republic remake. Now, I won't be showing her old tweets, but I have seen those old tweets where she was asked, "What's your favorite game?" And her response in one of those tweets was, "Not KOTOR." So that gives you a red flag right there. That tells you everything you need to know right there. All right, so it says Star Wars The Knights of the Old Republic remake was announced at the PlayStation Showcase 2021. Games lead producer, come on, Mike, read the sentence correctly. Ryan Treadwell made it abundantly clear the game is a complete remake. Yeah, a complete remake of a game that was already great. You don't, again, if it's not broke, why fix it? Why fix it? You know, there's a song where there's a verse that says, "Someone left the cake out in the rain." Yeah, you leave the cake out in the rain by remaking it. Guess what? You're going to destroy what is a masterpiece in the original Knights of the Old Republic. All right, so he goes on to say explained this is a complete remake of this beloved Star Wars story. And he's even acknowledging that it's a beloved story. Why they're freaking changing it? Because again, they want to adapt it for current year. Why do you think Star Trek is suffering right now? Because you've got writers writing for Discovery and Picard who don't care about Star Trek. You have people writing for Star Wars, in the movies who don't care about the mythos of Star Wars. They're never going to care. And if you pander to these people who aren't even going to buy your product, then you're fighting the losing battle. But Hollywood's too slow to learn that. Yeah, thank you, Godzillionaire. Godzillionaire brings up a great point. Creating a light skinned male character in KOTOR is an automatic plus 75 dark side points. See, and I've got a feeling that a lot of these people haven't played the game. Yes, I played the game. I have the game. I bought it a few months ago. I haven't completed the game, but all right. So it says that the producer explained this is a complete remake of this beloved story, Star Wars story for Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake. We are rebuilding from the ground up while maintaining the integrity and story from the original. Okay, so he's saying it's a complete remake, but they're going to maintain the integrity and the story from the original. How much of that do you believe? I don't believe any of it. I believe it's going to be a complete makeover, and the game that we're going to get isn't going to be the same game that we already have. That all they have to do is remaster the damn thing. Okay. Treadwell would add, the original Star Wars Knight of the Old Republic is a true classic and one of our ever. We want to honor the original story and make it as impactful for players today. You don't need to make it as impactful for players today. Let them play the original game as a remastered version. Let them get into that original story. Trust me, they'll be sucked in. In terms of visuals, we have the opportunity to present this story with a much higher level of fidelity than was possible in the past while making sure that we are being authentic to what players loved about the original game. Then release the original game, as I keep saying, release the original game. Of course, the graphical limitations, looking back now, look kind of fugly, depending on your perspective, depending on your glasses. But I look at the game now, I look at any game that was made in, the late 90s and the early 2000s, and I still can find enjoyment out of them. Enjoyment out of them because a lot of them have either good gameplay, good story, or both. Okay. So it goes on to say in an interview with StarWars.com, Treadwell also reiterated our big goals on this are to bring the story to a modern audience and have it be just as impactful today as it was for players when it originally launched. Orion Kellogg also told StarWars.com, we've been working really, really closely with Aspire for a long time now to deconstruct what made KOTOR so great and bring back to new audiences because we want this game to be an incredible RPG. Again, how many times do I have to say it? I'm not going to say it again, but I mean, yeah, update these graphics right here and you'd have a phenomenal game. You know, 20 years later, the graphics, they will be almost cinematic quality, depending on how much work they decide to put into it. It says Kellogg went on to hint that they We'll be changing character designs, dialogue, and more. Again, again, it's like taking a Michelangelo masterpiece and just taking a hammer and striking it down, or just painting over it, saying, I don't know, go Cubs. And I'm only saying go Cubs because for those of you that do know, I do recap Cubs games as many as I can, almost each and every day. But okay, it says we want this game to be just as beloved as it was before. Some of my favorite meetings to have in my week right now are to get into the nitty gritty with Aspire and talk about why did we make that choice in the original game and how does that play today? How do we expand that choice and make it even more meaningful and impactful? We think about literally every word of dialogue and other choices down to the clothes that the character is wearing. Uh, yeah, thank you guys doing it. Now, I have, from what I've seen of it, watching videos, what I've heard from people, you know, talking about it in videos, reading comments such as yours about the ending. The ending to a lot of people was perfect as it was. Now, a lot of people were disappointed by the ending of KOTOR 2 because it was rushed. But again, it, you don't change the recipe. If a recipe calls to put in 3, don't put it in 4. That ruins the recipe. Jeez, man. He then reiterated they are deconstructing the game. We trust Aspire. We trust the team that's working on it. We're doing the work ourselves to dig in, deconstruct, and reconnect to why we don't want to mess with that. And we love it too. And so we want to do it right. We hope everybody feels we've done this game a service when all is said and done. And don't get me wrong, because I I is at times, and I'm the most pessimistic person at times. But I'm going to say no. Hopefully, all our speculation and all our feelings about the game will be proven wrong. There's a part of me that says it could happen. There's a part of me that's going, outlook not so good. Exactly, Godzillionaire. You do not put a mustache on the Mona Lisa. But I don't know. I don't get why everything has to be remade. Come up with something original for once. Something original would be nice. Something original is what's needed right now. You always hear about people wanting a back, and Bob Gale vehemently say no, there will not be a Back to the Future remake. And there's no need for a Back to the Future remake. I'll tell you why. Back to the Future, the first one, Back to the Future 2, Back to the Future 3, that whole trilogy is perfect the way it is. It doesn't need to be changed. It doesn't need to be changed. And yeah, maybe I'm partial to those 3 movies. I'll tell you why. They're my favorite movies of all time. And I know this could be sacrilegious to some, but some say that Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi are the when I was 7 years old watching that first movie, then 11 years old and 12 years old watching part 2 and part 3 of Back to the Future. That's the best trilogy to me. I know I'm probably gonna get some rees and rants in the comment books, but that's my personal favorite trilogy. Of all the trilogies I could pick from, Back to the Future will always be the one. But yeah, I've got a feeling it's going to be more of the same. We're going to take something you love, kids, and we're going to change it and we're going to ruin it. I did not mean to do that, so let's just close that out. And now, and of course, I am going to talk about the announcements that were made this past Wednesday regarding Star Trek Picard and also Strange New Worlds. Now, I probably won't show all those videos, and even if I do, it probably won't be all the way through. Okay, you got me there, Godzilla. You got me there. Check and mate. Yes, Lord of the Rings. And as someone who in trilogy, Fellowship of the Ring, you know, Return of the King, and the Two Towers. I know Return of the King and Two Towers should actually be flipped, but as someone who recently watched those movies, I I ask myself, why did you go see those movies when they were originally released? I didn't jump on the bandwagon for those movies when they came out. I waited until now to finally watch them, and I really wish I had gone to see them in the theaters because I really enjoyed them. As a matter of fact, they over here. There, as a matter of fact, I've got it right here. So yeah, you've got me there, Godzilla. Oh yes. Oh, I do have the books. I can't get to them right now. I do have the books. I plan on reading the books. And you know, honestly, I'll tell you why I decided. Okay, I'm gonna finally watch two people on YouTube talk about the Lord of the Rings and how great the movies were, and just hearing the sound of their voice when they're speaking, their enjoyment that you can hear coming out of their voice, the excitement that you hear coming out of their voice when they're talking about certain scenes. That's what started getting my interest saying, you know what? It's time to give these a chance. Four-book set that comes with the Lord of the Rings books and also The Hobbit. And I also did purchase The Hobbit. I just can't get to it right now. But I did purchase all three Hobbit movies, and I do plan on giving them a watch because why not? Why not? I'm always open to watching new things, and I know this is kind of sidetracking as far as what topics I was going to talk about tonight, but recently a good friend of mine, TKO, Digital Department of Defense for any, he was the one who over the years would say, Mike, you got to give anime a shot. You got to give anime a shot. And I said to him, all right, I'll give it a shot. So I end up watching Dragon Ball Z, and I'm watching it, and I'm going, and this is why the disclaimer is there in the beginning of the video. But I'm watching it, going, what the fuck is this shit? That was my reaction. I'm watching it, going, I think I'm going to get you started on anime Godzilla there, but I'm watching it, and what drew me off was the fact that the characters would announce their special move that they're about to use on their enemy, whether it's a hero or a villain, and that drew me off. So I tried it. I said no. I even tried Pokemon because it was the latest and greatest thing. I thought, all right, I haven't played the games, but let's see. No, no, that didn't get me. That didn't get me. My Hero Academia. That's a series that hooked me in. A couple months back, TKO and I start watching My Hero Academia. And he was getting concerned because I wasn't saying anything. But what he didn't realize is that over the years, anytime I'm watching something, and if I'm watching it from, say, the first episode, then the second episode, and third episode, a lot of times, if I'm not saying anything, it doesn't mean I don't like it. It doesn't mean I don't dislike it. It means I'm trying to take it all in with what's going on in that particular show's universe. You know, understanding what's going on in the story, the characters, and the whole overall plot of that story. So I'm watching it and I'm not saying anything. So he's not sure if I'm liking it. He's not sure if I'm disliking it. And the same thing happened with Assassination. Here, let me try that one again. Same thing happened with Assassination Classroom. I I'm not saying a word. Even the parts that were funny, I'm not laughing because I'm taking it all in. I'm going, okay. So My Hero Academia, you have Deku, who gets his quirk from All Might thing. But anyways, All Might passes on his quirk to Deku, and he starts learning about the all for one or one for all, depending on how you look at it. And that does give away a little spoilers for later on. So I'm watching. I'm going, okay, okay. This show is good. This show, you know, it speaks to me. It's fun. It's not taking itself too serious, but when it does have those serious moments, it keeps your attention. It definitely does. Now, Assassination Classroom, funny crap right there. Especially with the teacher, and I'm looking at it. Here he is. He's wearing a cap and gown, and there's this big yellow smiley face, and I'm thinking to myself, and I didn't say it, but I'm thinking to myself, what the hell is he getting me into? And then I'm watching and I'm laughing. I'm laughing because again, the characters are written so well. They are giving us well written characters with a well written storyline. If you haven't watched Assassination Classroom, it's about a teacher that has these abilities, and within a year time span, he is going to kill everybody, and the students have to learn how to kill him. That's all I'll say about it. But I highly recommend it. I do highly recommend it. And one that I watched, in the past couple of days, and I rewatched it again was Ghost in the Shell. Oh, that's fabulous. That is a fabulous movie. The animation, the story, that that that's awesome. If you missed the second episode of Pop Talk, that's where I ended up talking about the 35th anniversary of Transformers. So anytime I can see a series where it involves giant freaking robots, of course I'm going to watch it. And yeah, Godzilla, it's really easy to binge watch My Hero Academia. Let me just go ahead and highlight your comment there too, because that's what I've been doing. I've been binging it. No, I haven't seen Steins Gate. I have not seen Steins Gate, my friend. Me, that's something I should put on my list. I mean, I I don't know if any of you have heard of him, but there's a YouTuber, GoGo13, and I've heard him talk about the Dominion Tank Police, and I'm thinking, okay, I'll give that a shot too. Yes, yes, I did see that it's gonna have a 2-day release point. Ah, it's too bad that the theater around here, they usually don't show those movies. I have to drive 2.5 hours from where I live just to go see it. But how great would it be to watch that movie, Transformers the movie, the original Michael Bay movie? So I'm talking about the 1986 movie. But to see that movie in the theaters again, that would be awesome. Although this time I would be ready for the death of Optimus Prime. Okay, I'll definitely give Steins Gate a look at. Definitely. Thanks for the recommendation. Go ahead and put your comment up there, and thank you. I will definitely put that up there. Oh, ye- oh gosh, you know, to be 8 years old again and watching that movie again, gosh, that was the time. Because I'll tell you, I'm sitting there. I went and saw Transformers the movie in August of '86, and at the same time, Top Gun was out. So my mom and dad go and they watch Top Gun. I go and watch Transformers movie. I get out before they do. So I'm sitting there on the bench with my I had tears running down my face, and my face was red because I'd been crying. And they come out, they're all smiles, they're happy, you know, they're going, "Oh, that's such a great movie. I love that movie." And then they see me and I still have tears in my eyes, my face is red, and they're all, "What's wrong?" And I'm all, "Optimus Prime died." I mean, up to that point, and we're talking about, the 80s. No, at that point in a cartoon. Anytime anytime you saw, an episode of G1, you know, yeah, they would get hit by the blast from either an Autobot or Decepticon, but it would just be a wound. They would be repaired, or it wouldn't affect them at all. But you're watching that movie, and the Decepticons hijack the Autobot shuttle, and you see Starscream shoot Brawn. He goes down, and then it's Prowl, it's Ironhide, it's Ratchet. It's like, oh yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. It would have been that way. I'm gonna put up your comment there, Godzillionaire. That if it was done in current year, Optimus Prime would have been apologizing. "I'm sorry for the war on Cybertron, Megatron. Here, you can have Cybertron all you want." "Good, you should apologize, Prime. You're a Decepticonist. Star Scream!" But I was excited watching season 3 when they announced that Optimus Prime would be coming back. And of course, that was in Dark Awakening the first time. And, then you see Dark Awakening again, and the narration from the narrator, Victor Cola, instead of saying, this is a goodbye to Optimus Prime, it goes on to say, "Is this the end of Optimus Prime? Find out in tomorrow's episode, The Return of Optimus Prime." Huh? What? Optimus is coming back again? So, there's also that joke. I'm talking about how Optimus never dies. Oh yeah. Yeah, no, nobody did. Nobody did. because you know you heard it in such a way, it was authoritative. It let you know that, okay, this is Rodimus's turn, and he did say it in such a way, and roll out. I mean, yeah, I didn't do it exactly the way it was done originally, but still, hearing that authoritative transform and roll out done in such a way, it was amazing. And also, when Rodimus was opening the Matrix and you hear Optimus's voice saying, "Arise, Rodimus Prime," that lets you know that there's a new main character in town, and he's also the new leader of the Autobots. But of course, Galvatron, sorry, I still looked at him as it was pretty obvious. So, okay, now speaking of another KOTOR article, no, it's fine. It's fine, Godzillionaire. It's not a problem at all. I mean, here I am, 43 years old, and I'm still gushing over that movie because of the impact it had as a kid. Just, seeing the quality of animation that was in it at the time wasn't something you saw very often. And it certainly wasn't something you saw in a weekly episode of Transformers. It really wasn't. All the detail that Toei put into the animation models, especially for the time, especially when you consider the fact that computers weren't used, computers weren't up to that level yet, where they could, put in a 3D model into a movie and have it add to the movie. It was all done by hand drawn cell animation. And another good movie from the 80s, which I have watched, Akira. That is awesome. Gogo 13 recommended that on his channel, and I wanted to add it to my video collection. So shifting back to Star Wars, I don't mind getting off topic on this channel during this show. I know some people may not like it, but honestly, it doesn't bother me. It's, somebody brings up something that they want to talk about, then let's talk about it. So it says, and this is coming from NME. I've never heard of them before. I just saw this article and I thought, okay, let's take a look at this article. Won't involve EA or BioWare. Hmm, fascinating. It says a statement from EA seems to confirm that the company will not be involved with the upcoming remake of 2000's Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Responding to an inquiry from journalist Jeff Keighley over whether or not EA or BioWare is involved in Aspire's remake, an EA spokesman has declined to list Knights of the Old Republic as one of EA's Star Wars games, while stating the company is proud of our long-standing collaboration with Lucasfilm Games. The spokesperson only lists games such as Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Squadrons, and Battlefront as EA affiliated. While the statement is worded vaguely, it notably omits any mention of Knights of the Old Republic remake and seems to confirm that EA is not involved with the game. I asked BioWare and EA if they were involved in the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake announced yesterday and just received this response. And this coming from Jeff Keighley. So it says similarly, BioWare, who developed the first Knights of the Old Republic game, has tweeted that while the studio is proud of the Knights of the Old Republic, they are continuing work on Star Wars The Old Republic and genuinely cannot wait to play Aspire's remake. A Star Wars insider discussing the remake suggested that EA and BioWare would not be involved back in January. Yeah, Fallen Order was good. Squadrons, I bought it. I bought it on the cheap, and like you, Godzillionaire, I didn't care for it. I didn't care for the controls. I didn't change the difficulty level at all. I didn't think that would have anything to do with one or the other, but I I just I just couldn't get into it. And it was because of the controls. I thought they were a mess. It says the Knights of the Old Republic remake was announced during PlayStation Showcase on September 9th and is being developed by Aspire, which has previously worked on porting a wide number of Star Wars games to different consoles. The game will be a timid console exclusive for PS5. However, it will also launch on PC. And for a lot of people who remember, it was originally released on both PC and the original Xbox. It says, speaking through a PlayStation blog, Sony has confirmed that the remake is still early in development. It is being worked on by industry veterans who have worked on great RPGs, as well as some members of the original Knights of the Old Republic development team. In other news, Life is Strange True Colors is being review bombed over the inclusion of an in game Tibetan flag. Well, I wouldn't know anything about that game. I haven't even kept up on that game. But yeah, really, what do I think about that story? What do I think that you know EA won't be involved, BioWare won't be involved? I think of the two that should be involved, obviously, would be BioWare since they're the original authors of the game. So I would think it would have been smart to include their input, even though they do have some, of the original people behind the game working on it. As a company standpoint, why not include, the company itself? But as far as EA, trust me, EA's done a number on plenty of games where they've made everything pay to win. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't know about you, but I don't like having to buy a $50, $60 game and then having to buy more content on top of it where the game's over $100 by the time all is said and done. I certainly don't like doing that. Yeah, yeah, I haven't played about it. I'm better off not playing it, considering how badly that series ended. All right. So, any further thoughts? Any further questions as far as Knights of the Old Republic? The fact that BioWare and EA aren't involved, the fact that a former Mary Sue writer is involved, even though it has been said that she's not the head writer. Does that still affect your decision? Are you going to wait for the gameplay to be shown before you make any judgment? Are you going to wait for somebody to stream it when the game's released and get their reaction, whether it's in a review, whether it's in a live stream? What are your Thank you for that recommendation, Godzillionaire. I certainly will play the original Mass Effect, and then I will stop from there. You know, it sounds like it's a perfect example of sometimes it doesn't need a sequel. The first one is all you need, and a sequel is unnecessary. It's just like one of the movies I was looking forward to seeing this year, besides Ghostbusters Afterlife, was Top Gun Maverick. But a part of me is thinking The first Top Gun is a great movie. Do you really necessarily need a sequel? No. Okay. All right. So again, that goes back to your point about, playing Mass Effect 1 and avoiding the rest. Because one thing I hate, and I used to write a lot of Star Trek fan fiction, but one thing I hate is having one story hands above a great story, and then you have another story that contradicts everything that was said in the previous story, and it ruins it for me. You know, don't go back and you know move the goalpost. You know, go for a review on a ball that was obviously fair, and an umpire called it foul, and then you have to you know get on the headset with New York and wait for New York to take four 4 hours just to review a call where it's obvious that ball was fair. You know, take flesh out that story and then develop the game and don't change a damn thing. Oh, that's not good. That's not good. Everything I've heard about the Games of Thrones ending and the final season, you might as well, like you're saying with Mass Effect, skip the final season and stick with whatever seasons you enjoyed. I've heard some people say seasons 1 through 5 are good. I've heard some people say seasons 1 through 7 with it. Okay, now we we're not boldly going where no one has gone before. We're boldly going where everything has been mucked up before. But this is also coming out of the Guardian, and it's in regards to Star Trek Picard. It's not Star Trek. I don't care. In my opinion, it is not Star Trek. That is not Jean-Luc Picard. Let me just get this. There we go. All right, so this is coming out of the Guardian, and it says Star Trek Picard is the dark reboot that boldly goes where nobody wanted to go before. Isn't that the truth? And I'm going to say it right here, right now. I have no intentions on reviewing Star Trek Discovery Season 4 and Star Trek Picard Season 2. I don't even care about Lower Decks. I don't care about Prodigy. I don't care about Stranger. I have 3 seasons of Discovery, 1 season of Picard, 4 seasons in total of Kurtzman produced Star Trek, and that's too much. That's too much. I don't need to see any more. I'd rather, and this is going back to the Cubs, I'd rather watch a Cub game where the Cubs are trailing in the ball game and at least try to make it close by crawling back into the game. They may end up losing the game in the end, but I'd rather see a game like that than watch another season of Star Trek Picard or Star Trek Discovery or Lower Decks or even watch Prodigy. Okay, it says Trek used to be a vision of an optimistic future, but there is a reboot and previous adventures of Enterprise. Obviously, there's a difference between previous Trek and current Trek. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure that one out. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to go back and watch the original series and be able to pick out at least one episode from 3 seasons of the original series that will get them hooked. For me, it was Tomorrow is Yesterday. That's the episode that got me hooked on Next Generation was yesterday's Enterprise. Watched DS9 from the beginning. One of my favorite episodes is Jem Hadar, when you actually meet the Jem Hadar. And, another episode is The Visitor, Voyager. Year of Hell is one of my favorites. And, Equinox, that was a good episode too. And, Basics Part 1 and Part 2 were good episodes of Voyager. And, in Enterprise, Stormfront from season 4, In the Mirror Darkly from season 4, because that's when the show hit its pride, but unfortunately it was cut short. Far too long. Far too long for me saying that. It's short, it should have been given a chance. It's a trick. Yeah, I already read that. It says, it is the year 2364, and Jean-Luc Picard, the revered captain of the USS Enterprise, has just come face to face with 3 humans who have been frozen in time since the late 20th century. I can't remember the name of that episode on the top of my head, but I do remember the fact that one of those 3 asked Data, as a replicator, replicate a martini, and of course the guy even calls the replicator a boob tube, referring to the TV. Okay. And it's also the episode where we see the Romulans. I mean, yeah, the article states this out, but it's also one of the first Star Trek appearances of Mark Alimo, who went on to play the Cardassian in the season 3 episode, Phoenix, and then he would also later go on to on DS9 and Gold to Cot. Okay, so since the late 20th century, by this point in the story, the 1988 finale of the first season of Star Trek The Next Generation. Actually, I do remember the episode. I believe it was called The Neutral Zone, where Federation Starbase was destroyed, a Romulan Starbase was destroyed, and neither side knew who did it. And everything I thought would have, looking back years later, would have led up to the Borg, but, okay, so goes on to say late 20th century. By this point in the story, the 1988 finale of the first season of Star Trek: The Next Generation. He has met Klingons, Romulans, a pool of black goo. Yeah, that black goo killed Tasha Yar. And let's see, and of course it jumped on me. I hate that. A pool of black goo, but nothing is as alien as these greedy, selfish relics. This is Star Trek, after all. The pop culture behemoth built on the idealistic future envisioned in the 60s by its creator, Gene Roddenberry. A lot has changed in the past 300 years, Picard tells them. People are no longer obsessed with the accumulation of the need for possessions. We've grown out of our infancy. And that is something he even tells Q in Encounter at Farpoint. Or have we? Revisiting the character 30 years later in Star Trek Picard, Patrick Stewart's grand return to the role at the age of 79. It seemed the world has not progressed as much as we were led to believe. Set during a time in which the Federation, a union of planets which shared democratic values and interests, has turned isolationist in response to a terror attack, it has proved to be a devisely dark, gritty, and morally bleak. Episode 5 opens up with a beloved character screaming as his eye is ripped out of his skull. Yeah, Icheb. Poor Icheb. Jeez. Yeah, I do too. I do too. You can't blame him. Hail, Spock! Welcome to the show, brother. Glad you could stop by, Spock. Thank you very much, brother. Hail to you, brother. Hope your day is going well. Again, glad you could pop in. Get back to the article, get my bearings straight here. Okay. Let's see. And I'm also going to check Discord just real quick. Just real quick. And by the way, Spock, Godzillionaire, if you'd like to come on, just hit me up on Discord and I can send you the invite. So, anyways, it goes on to say, revisiting the character 30 years later in Star Trek Picard, Patrick Stewart's grand return to the role at the age of 79. It seems the world has not progressed as much as. Yeah, I know, I already read this. I'll skip it. All right. It is proved to be decisively dark, gritty, and morally bleak take on the Star Trek universe. Episode 5, yeah, I already read that. And then it goes on to say a Starfleet admiral tells Picard, the great heroic Captain Picard, a man whose voice is built like a beautiful cathedral, to shut the fuck up. Okay, I will send you the invite. 1 second here. 1 second, my friend. All right, let me just send it to you directly. Or actually, you know what? That's fine. All right, that's cool. But anyways, it goes on to say how that admiral went on to say to Picard, shut the fuck up after first saying sheer fucking hubris when Picard went to the Anaheim Convention Center. That was not Starfleet Command. It was the Anaheim Convention Center. The mix, some fans welcome Star Trek being brought up to date with the look and feel of contemporary television. Others maintain that such pessimism is at odds with what makes Star Trek Star Trek. Exactly. Exactly. I'm gonna go ahead and highlight your comment, Spock. And yes, you're right, Godzillionaire. Starfleet has fallen on hard times, which it not only shows how Kurtzman wants to treat his cast, but it also continues to show his lack of understanding of the universe. The last we saw of the 24th century was in Nemesis. Janeway's an admiral. Picard and the TNG crew have one last adventure before Riker takes command of the Titan. Data's destroyed, and Data's memory engrams have been transferred to before. Now, what's the Alpha Quadrant like? What's the Beta Quadrant like after going through not just the invasion from the Borg, but during that same time period, the after effects of the war with the Dominion? What's it like for, say, Garrick on Cardassia, a Cardassia that's rebuilding, on the Alpha Quadrant that's rebuilding from the war? Beta Sid was captured by the Dominion during the war. The Romulans. What is the relationship between the Federation and the Romulan Star Empire? I wanted to find that out. I don't want to find out in J.J. Abrams' 2009 flick that the hope of the star had been destroyed and Romulus had been destroyed. No, 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 no. I want a continuation from Nemesis, from Voyager, as to what happened in the rest of the Alpha, Beta Quadrant. You know, maybe some years down the road, did Odo come back? Now, I'm not talking about, having Odo come back to the Alpha Quadrant, coming back to the station as a representative of the Dominion and, offering peace talks, trade possibilities between the Dominion and, the Federation or some other Alpha Quadrant species. Possibly the Federation exploring Cardassian space, maybe being permitted to even explore Romulan space, going into sectors that the Federation has never been allowed to go into, and they have very little intel on, very little knowledge on. I wanted to see. And Spock goes on to say, indeed, a giant gap of not understanding Trek characters. Thank you, CBS. You definitely picked the right successor for Gene Roddenberry. Yeah, yeah. And we all say it with sarcasm, Spock, because at this point, it's a joke. Star Trek has become a joke. A once proud franchise has become a joke. And, Seth MacFarlane, give that man credit for trying to pitch a series to Les Moonves, the man who killed Enterprise, and trying to resurrect Star Trek as we know it, and then being, denied. And instead of, dragging his feet and saying, okay, all right, well, I won't pursue this again, what does he do? He creates the Orville. And you watch the Orville, you're watching Star Trek's spiritual successor. It, and I'm not saying that because it has some of the same producers and writers from Next Gen, DS9, and Voyager. I'm saying that because he perfectly captures the feel of Star Trek used to tell, and Star Trek should still be telling. Exactly, Spock. Exactly. Exactly. Writing, clothing, directing, and this is what Spock said before. Seth brought back 90s Trek. That Trek worked. Regardless of what your defactors are for Rick Berman, for 18 years, he was Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, the 4 Next Generation movies. He was there. He was in the thick of it. He let Ira Bear, Ronald D. Moore, and Robert Hewitt Wolf basically have their say when it came to Deep Space Nine. If he hadn't let them have their say when it came to Deep Space Nine, who knows what we would have gotten. Deep Space Nine, mwah, mwah, mwah. Well, I'm going to go ahead and highlight your comment. After so many years of Family Guy, I just can't deal with Seth's humor. Couldn't bring myself to even try the Orville. Godzillionaire, I'm going to say this, and I'm saying this honestly. You're doing yourself a disservice for not watching the Orville. Yes, season 1 is built on humor, but it is more in line with traditional Trek. They do delve into the what if stories. They do delve into the morality stories. it really, and this is just my opinion, and you know what they say about opinions, but it really does capture the essence of Star Trek with its storytelling. It really does. And you can really see that Seth MacFarlane did his homework. Okay, so da, 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 da. It goes on to say the reaction, understandably, has been mixed. Some fans, okay, I already read that. It goes on to say the showrunner, Michael Chabon, responding to questions via his Instagram page, defended Picard against the latter claim by saying that if nothing can rock Federation's perfection, then it's just a magical land. Obviously, he never saw Deep Space Nine. Again, what ended up rocking the Federation's foundation? The Dominion War. That rocked the Federation to its core. Even, you know, having the Kittimer Accords reinstated the Federation still outmatched to the might of the Dominion. You know, there's an episode where it involves the augments on Deep Space Nine, and they come on board the station, and Dr. Bashir develops a relationship with them. And at one point, they come up with a scenario where the Federation's best interest would be to surrender to the Dominion. Cisco, that's mentioned about the surrender of the Federation, is that, over time there will be rebellion. People will rise up against the Dominion, but Cisco did not see that as an option. He had to find a way to win the war, and the way to win the war was getting the Romulans involved in the fight with the Federation, the Klingons against them. And that brings us to A Pale Moonlight, a great episode of Deep Space Nine. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Excellent point there. Excellent. Yeah. See, and that's the thing. You may not be a fan of somebody's work on, one TV show, one movie, one book. It's like I'll give you a perfect example. Until I saw him in the first Iron Man movie. That movie changed my opinion on him. I didn't care for him as an actor. I didn't care for him as a person, but that movie changed my opinion on him as an actor. And even seeing him, you know, talk over the years, my opinion of him has changed, of him as a person. So, it goes to a point, even on this channel when I do reviews, I I'd say that on could change over time. And what I mean by that is after my first initial viewing, months down the road, years down the road, what my thoughts were on the episode at the time might change. They might not. They might not. But there's always that possibility. Okay. So Michael Chabon calling the Federation a magical land has been echoed in the past by Alex Kurtzman, the showrunner of the other ongoing series set in the same universe, Star Trek Discovery. He justified his equally violent, profane, and dark sensibility by maintaining that modern Star Trek is simply a reflection of its time. Star Trek has always, and I do concur, and presenting them in such a way where they don't force the viewer to decide which direction is good, which direction is bad, which side is good, which side is bad. Star Trek has always left it up to the viewer to decide at the end. What they do now on Picard and Discovery is make the decision for you, think for you, instead of letting you think for yourselves with your own thoughts and your own opinions. Okay, it goes on to say we live in an age defined by truth plays of social media, the uncertain future of automation, rising inequality, increased right wing populism, the spectrum of climate change, and of course, the fact we are living through a pandemic with the potential to be the most significant and traumatic period of our history since the Second World War. But, again, to talk about, let, of course, writers have always leaned on one political side or another. But again, original series, Next Gen, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise did not dictate to you which side you need to be on. Which side of the aisle is good, which side of the aisle is bad. They left that up to you. And someone's going to say, you're missing the point, Mike. Well, maybe the point I'm trying to make is if the formula for Star Trek isn't broken, why in the hell are you trying to fix it when it doesn't need to be fixed? Why why the hell, and I'm using another baseball analogy, are you going to trade your starting pitcher to another team and get back another starting pitcher who is of lesser value? Cases say you're not going to do it. In some cases, like with the Cubs this offseason, they traded Yu Darvish to San Diego for Zach Davies. And I'm no stranger to saying on this channel that Zach Davies just isn't the pitcher he needs to be. The Cubs aren't the team they need to be, just like current Star Trek isn't the Star Trek it needs to be. It needs to have that optimism. It needs to have that hope. It needs to look for something to get their minds off of all the crap that's going on right now. Okay, this goes on to say, all right, let me get back. All right. Since the Second World War, Picard certainly reflects many of these concerns. It is a little wonder that some of the most popular science fiction TV of the last 20 years, from the technophobia of Black Mirror to post 9/11 anxieties, Battlestar Galactica in the future. But again, Battlestar Galactica is a reboot that's done right and still pays respect to the source material. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I seem to remember Glenn Larson actually having some involvement in the Sci-Fi Channel Battlestar Galactica miniseries and the series in general. Could be wrong on that, but I seem to recall him being involved somewhat in the series. No, no, the new Battlestar Galactica isn't bad, if that's what you're referring to, Spock. You know, the new Battlestar Galactica took, and yeah, they did change them up, but Katie Stackhoff, she did a great job. And yeah, the ending, yeah, okay. And Caprica, don't get me started on Caprica, nah, but the ending was, yeah, it was. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, definitely rewatch Battlestar Galactica. I'm gonna highlight your three comments here, Spock. But Katie Sackhoff, she was great. I wasn't sure about her at first, and it's because she's playing a famous character. The name of the character is escaping my mind. I used to watch the original '78 series, and even the horrid 1980 Battlestar Galactica. But you know, she came in and she made that character her own. Okay, so it says, yet the idea of the grittiness of shows such as Picard makes it mature and relevant, while the ethos of yesteryear Star Trek is now naive or too old fashioned to survive, feels misjudged. The hope, optimism, and sincerity of the original '60s series was in itself a radical act, a way of portraying the future as it should be. A multiracial cast in a time of civil rights struggle, peace and cooperation, in a time of nuclear terror, rather than merely wallowing in things as they were. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. In the 90s, the darker spin off show Deep Space Nine preempted Picard's themes by 27 years, asking what happens when the principles of the Federation are compromised by war. The difference was that Deep Space Nine, much like the best of Star Trek, managed to balance its meteor themes of PTSD, fate, and wartime atrocities with episodes where everyone got dressed up to it is this, more than anything else, that is fundamentally lacking from modern Star Trek: a sense of tonal texture, a spirit of curiosity about different worlds and cultures, and the crackling chemistry of a warm and interesting crew. Instead, as is the case with Picard, its new characters have felt like broadly drawn badasses, downright cold, unlikable. The prime example being Michelle Hurd's new addition, Raffi, the wisecracking ex Starfleet officer who insists on calling Picard JL. And that annoys me when she calls Captain Picard, Admiral Picard, Jean Luc Picard, JL. A lot of times in Next Generation and even in Nemesis, what do people call him? Jean Luc. They don't call him JL. They don't give him a nickname. It's Jean Luc Picard. And yet, the appetite of modern audiences for the bygone era of Star Trek storytelling still exists. Just take the popularity of one of the strangest things on TV, The Orville. Originally trailed as Seth MacFarlane's Family Guy esque parody of Star Trek style sci fi, it has instead revealed itself as a Trojan horse for Star Trek The Next Generation fan fiction featuring McFarlane cosplaying as the dashing Captain Ed Mercer, for those who don't know. All right, dashing Captain of his very own Enterprise. The aesthetics are similar, its stories are similar. It's clearly based around Roddenberry's ethos of exploration and optimism. There are even episodes written and directed by 90s Star Trek writers and Brandon Braga. He's a producer and a writer on the show. And I'm just taking a swig of water, and I'm also looking at Mr. Spock's comment here. Let me go ahead and highlight it here. And he goes on to say, sure, Picard is gritty, but very horribly, if I say so myself. I have actually seen some good dark stories. Rickett, the boys, this show does not even come close to those. No, no. They try too hard and they're failing. And Hollywood loves to fail upwards. Okay. What a fate. Okay, so let me get back. Appreciated than ever. It says, but sadly, all we are left with is like Star Trek at all, or a dodgy covers band playing the greatest hits. What if fate for a once great franchise? Well, they may be a cover band, but I like them. They sound just like the authentic version. Hmm. Taking ideas from Mass Effect too. That's what they did in Picard. All right, so that looks like it's the end of the article there concerning Picard. Now, I'm going to put it to a vote. Since Godzillionaire and Spock are here, and anyone else who is here, chime in too. I would greatly appreciate your vote. But do you want me to play the trailer for Seard, or would you rather not have your brain explode and leave knowing that you're not going to have a splitting headache after you see it? The vote is yours. Because I can talk about anything else. Electromagnetic interference. I get it, Spock. All right, all right. So, Spock votes nay. How about you, Godzillionaire? All right. Two votes no. And I'm going to go ahead and throw my vote in there. No. So, three votes no. So, I will not be playing the trailer for season 2 of Picard. And good. I won't get a copyright strike either. I won't have something I don't want. Okay. Ah, you guys are great. This community is great. All right. So I did see something I wanted to touch up on tonight. So I'll go ahead and touch it up or touch up on it if I can only speak. You want to show that? No, 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 no. Oh. I know what I want to talk about next. I do want to talk about this next, and you guys are probably going to hate me for it, but I do want to talk about something next. So let me just get it loaded up here, and then we will talk about it. All right. Are you sitting down? You have a beverage near you? Ladies, and anyone else watching this live stream? All right, here we go. I'm stalling as much as I can, but I I want to talk about this because recently a good friend of ours and also myself, if you guys haven't seen it, I have my own review. It's a very short one, but Indiana Jones 5 and my reviews, a fellow with the North Korea life form, he and I have done our own versions, our own reviews on the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yeah, everything did go downhill after Nemesis. But here we go. Indiana Jones 5 rumored to be setting the stage for the franchise's new lead. And in case you haven't heard, it's Indiana Jones, Mary Sue Jones. Yeah, she is not only involved in the new James Bond flick that's coming out, but she's also a part of Indiana Jones 5. It says a very interesting new rumor is doing the rounds about Indiana Jones 5, and a few well known YouTubers have talked about this. One of them specifically mentioned this a few months ago. He was right. But it goes on to say a very interesting new rumor is doing the rounds about Indiana Jones 5 and what future plans for the franchise are. Needless to say, this could be controversial too. Of course, this could be controversial. All right, so it goes on to say James Mangold's Indiana Jones 5 is expected to serve as the conclusion of Harrison Ford's time as the beloved adventurer. Honestly, before I begin, I'm going to state it that Raiders, Temple of Doom. Okay, I thought I was gonna sneeze, but the Raiders, the Temple of Doom, and the Last Crusade are really the only Indiana Jones movies you need to concern yourself about. The Crystal Skull, I don't know what the hell that was. I really don't. That was weird. That movie was weird. And here I am, someone who likes science fiction and things involving aliens, and even I'm going, that movie is real weird. I even said that to that was weird. And they even said, but you're into that kind of stuff. Yeah, okay, okay. You got me there. You got me there, Godzillionaire. Earlier, I said Back to the Future was my favorite trilogy, but here's Godzillionaire. He's asking Spock and Bones if that torpedo's ready. Bones is saying, and he's hitting me, the cloaked bird of prey, and then Spock, if you want to be Sulu in this case, you're saying log on to that explosion and fire. Okay, so it says that James Mangold's Indiana Jones 5 is expected to serve as the conclusion of Harrison Ford's time as the beloved adventurer, but imagine it being shelved indefinitely, especially with Disney in charge. Don't remind me. Don't remind me Disney's in charge. Oh, wait a minute. I don't need a reminder. Every day they remind us that they're in charge of Star Wars and Indiana Jones and anything else that Lucas pr- produced or helped produce. Okay. Which has been the case since they acquired Lucasfilm years ago. Yeah, back in 2000. Now, Mail Online has, and that's the Daily Mail Online because that's where I first saw it, has shared a very interesting rumor that we're sure at least some fans won't be happy about, according to the site. Phoebe Waller Bridge is being eyed to take over from Ford as the new face of Indiana Jones. Apparently, she plays Indy's assistant in the fifth installment. Back would then become the franchise's first female lead in future movies. Well, what are you going to do? Pass the name Indiana Jones? Don't. Give her a new name. Give her a new name. But the best thing to do, the best thing in my opinion to do with the franchise is let this be the final one. Lay it to rest, and that's it. No more Indiana Jones. So, getting back to the article, it says the site notes that insiders claim Kathleen Kennedy, the Hollywood producer behind the franchise, is keen to make big, bold changes. Yeah, of course, she's out to ruin anything that George had a part of, anything that Steven Spielberg had a part of. But what she fails to remember, obviously, is that she served as a producer or executive producer George Lucas, thanks to Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, on movies such as Indiana Jones and Back to the Future, just to name a few. And okay, I'll throw out Jurassic Park there as well. Big bold changes with few bigger than switching the lead character to a woman. One source adds it would be a huge statement and a great role for Phoebe. Why not just make her a new character, make her in the sense of Indiana Jones, but not Indiana Jones? Wait a minute. Wait. And guys, before you say anything, guys, let me not forget, we already have that character. They've already made 3 live action movies based around that character, Laura Croft. And in prospect, after all, the only other real option for the franchise is to either do a total reboot or head into the past with a new actor filling in some gaps in the character's history. Well, they already did that with the Indiana Jones Chronicles. You know, River Phoenix was the young Indiana Jones. All right. How would you feel about the big change to Indiana Jones? I've already stated, let Indiana Jones, let the character go out the way he should have gone out after the Last Crusade and go out on top. But I've got a feeling they're gonna muck this one up like they always do, like they always seem to do, and it's gotten old. I can't speak for you guys, but it's gotten old. Let's see. Is there anything else I wanted? Oh yeah, and also speaking of Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Apparently, she exited Amazon's Mr. and Mrs. Smith series. Okay, well, I probably would have watched anyway. Mm-hmm. You think Solo would be a cautionary tale about doing prequel series based on Harrison Ford characters? You're you're absolutely right on that, Godzillionaire. And I haven't watched it, but I've heard that somebody did a deep fake with Harrison Ford in Solo. So I'm gonna have to check. You can at least do that. There are talented people out there, talented fans that can do it, and you can have Harrison Ford at least voice the character. Why would I want to voice the character? What would be the whole point? Unless you're giving me a lot of money. All right, I know that wasn't really a good Harrison Ford impression, but I have to make reboot after reboot, taking established franchises and established characters and just mucking them up. It's time to create something new. You know, one of the movies that I'm glad I gave a chance to was Alita Battle Angel. I knew nothing of the anime that it was based on, but I gave Alita Battle Angel a chance because it was something new, it was something different, and I'm glad I did. I rented it, I enjoyed it so much. I and I know it's been said on so many vlogs, so many videos that Hollywood has run out of ideas, and they have, and that's a damn shame. It certainly is a damn shame. So, on that note, I know it's a downer. I don't want to leave you guys on a downer. Gotta find a story that makes people happy. Yes, it was. I've got to leave you all on a happy note. I can't leave you all on a depressing note. So, oh heck. Oh heck. Hmm. See, if I play that, uh, I'll take the chance. All right, because that's not what I wanted. Uh, hmm. Yeah, I gotta take a chance. And what I'm gonna play is I'm gonna have to, pause it here and there. So just bear with me as I do that. Try to get to pause. Okay. Hopefully I do it well enough where I don't get dinged. Let's go ahead and change that. There we go. The Matrix Resurrection. Some people I'm hearing they're liking it. I watched it. I didn't have a good feeling about it. I didn't have a bad feeling about it, mainly because the only movie I ever cared about was the first Matrix movie. I saw the third one, and you know, I didn't like it. I didn't dislike it. It was what it was to me.
Thomas? You seem particularly triggered right now. Can you tell me what happened?
I've had dreams that weren't just dreams.
Patrick Harris, Godzillionaire. So they're playing White Rabbit.
Hi.
And okay, Trinity. How in the world is she able to come back? I seem to recall her being dead. The only one who was still alive was Morbius. All right, I'm gonna put that up there. I'm gonna put out. My dog just died. He just died, man. Why do you think I'm triggered? I love that little guy.
Have we met? When she's 10 feet tall.
Time to fly.
So is this a new version of Morbius? It's not Lawrence Fishburne. Ah, the red pill.
Chasing rabbits. If you want the truth, Neo, you're going to have to follow me.
Okay. Don't go into the light. You too, Godzillionaire. Thank you, appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed already, please do.
The only thing that matters to you is still here.
Magic
I
mirror.
know it's why you're still fighting and why you.
Now we're out on a
You'll never
lake. What do you expect? It's a Keanu Reeves movie. Again, what do you expect? Honestly, it looks the same as the last two Matrix movies. Alright, so that's Matrix Resurrections. My thoughts, if anything, I might wait for it to, pop up on HBO Max and then view it that way. I I do want to watch Dune and, Ghostbusters as I previously mentioned, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe the second trailer will be telling, and I'll have an idea as to what I want to do. But at this point, I don't know if I want to see it. And if you do, fine, go see it and let me know what you thought. Let me know what you think about anything. I mean, we there are things that I like that maybe you don't like, things you like that I don't like, but we don't always have to agree. So, on that note, I am going to go ahead and wrap up tonight's episode of Pop Talk. I could talk about the Hawkeye trailer, I will. And honestly, I don't. Again, I don't know if I'm gonna watch it. You know, Haley Steinfeld. She's proven to be a very good actress, and Jeremy Renner. He's been good while I get a drink of water. But Jeremy Renner, he's been good as Hawkeye Clint Barnes. So hey, how's it going, Brian? Yeah, you're just in time. I was just about to wrap it up, and I just shown the trailer for Matrix 4. So I don't know if you've seen it, but I'm not feeling. I'm really not feeling it. And I'll be honest. I saw the third Matrix movie after seeing the second Matrix movie, and I, I just didn't care for it. It wasn't a thing where I liked or disliked them. I just didn't care for them all that much. It wasn't something I'm thinking when that movie comes out. Well, like I was gonna say, when that movie comes out on VHS or DVD at the time, I'm not gonna rush out and buy it. It wasn't one of those that I felt the need. Nice. That V for Vendetta is one I haven't watched yet. So, okay, you and a few other people I know that it's about time I give that movie a chance and start watching it. Would I be correct in that assessment? Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I will give it a watch, and I will let you know what I think of it. Watch Cowboy Bebop, and I'll give you a thought on that. Yeah, yeah, I think it would be appropriate, just like reading Animal Farm or 1984. It probably would be appropriate to watch considering what's currently going on. I definitely think I should give it. If I don't like it, I'm not going to go on Twitter and rant about it. But I do want to let you know that I did let Paul know that at any time, if he wants to watch the animated series, I'd be more than happy to, show it to him, have a watch party. And if you're interested in joining in on that, you know, the more the merrier. But I think at this point, I've gone on for 2 hours and almost 15 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Pop Talk. I want to thank the Notorial Lifeform for stopping by, Godzilla Air for stopping by, Spock for stopping by, and anyone else who stopped by during the live cast or you're watching it on the replay. Thank you for all stopping by. Really appreciate it. I'll definitely give V for Vendetta a chance. So if you'd like to follow me on social media, you can follow me on Twitter here, and all the links will be in the description down below. Twitter.com/Pacific414. You can also find me on Discord, and you can. And I will let you all know that probably this Thursday on Twitch that I will be resuming my G.I. Joe gameplay. I want to get that game finished, and then possibly after that, if I'm able to complete the game that night, I might switch over for a brief gameplay of game available on GOG.com, and I can now play that game again on a Windows 10 computer. Oh, not a problem, Brian. I mean, I'd love to have anybody join me on my Discord for a watch party of that or any other movies I have. We could definitely talk about it on offline. And you know, one thing I have been trying to do this year, and it hasn't worked out yet, but I've also tried to see if anybody wants to watch a baseball game with me before I do an episode of the box score. And just grow this channel in any way, shape, and form I can do so, whether it be by uploading videos that I've done myself. Speaking of videos, I am probably gonna go back and do a third version of my Star Trek The Experience video that I have on the channel. I have the first version I put up on the channel, then I have the 2020 edit. Well, I'm going to do a third version where I take out all the spelling errors and also add the 3 photos that I posted as part of, my experience from Star Trek The Experience. Now, I will admit those 3 photos are not from that same year. They're actually from the year before, but since those are the only pictures I have from that first visit, I want to include them in this third version of the Star Trek Experience video. It'll, basically start off completely like the second one, but near the end or somewhere in the video, into those 3 pictures where it seems appropriate for them to be spliced into. So I do want to thank everybody who stopped by. Thank you very much. Thank you all who participated in last Wednesday's Pop Talk celebrating Star Trek. And thanks again to King Phoenix and Quidman Jenkins for joining me last Sunday. And of course, like I said in the beginning, the Nerdporial life form, Spock, and TKO, along with and the killer. I want to thank you, gentlemen, for joining. Really appreciate it. Hope you all have a good night. Yes, thank you. Thank you, brother. Thank you. You know, I've tried. I'm gonna say it right now, and I'm not saying it to kiss ass. I'm saying it because it's a fact. You're a far better YouTuber than I am. Hands down, your hands, what I do. Yeah, I know probably what turns a lot of people off is when I stutter. And also, they come onto the channel, and I'll admit, they come onto the channel and they see that it's sports related because of all my episodes of the box score recapping the Cubs. But, you know, you are hands above a far better YouTuber than I could ever hope to be. Yeah. And, if sometimes I can't get a single word out, but I just leave it in there because just like with the box score, you know, everything I want to do, I want it to be as authentic as possible. I just don't want it to be phoned in. If I have to, write something down for me to say during a video, I'll do it, but it's going to be in my own words. It's going to be in my own thought process. But I appreciate all the help that you've given me, brother. I really do. And I want to tell you that right now. You know, last week and getting people's attention about the stream and going throughout social media, getting people's attention. Thank you very much. I'm glad to have met you. Yeah, and see, you mentioned, you know, you're awkward. You know, we're all awkward. We're all awkward. No, admit it or not, you know, we're all awkward, and your gift of gab is in continuing improvement. Yeah, and that's the reason why I continue to do my recaps. I continue to do my episode reviews, my movie reviews, even when I'm talking during a live stream. I'm trying to do it to better myself.